I know that when you were in New York, your day job was on Broadway in the theater. You were, you worked in costuming.
Yeah.
Is this where you first met Cheetah Rivera?
Oh, yes. Well, the crazy thing is I met CHITA RIVERA in 1993 when she was doing Kiss of the Spider-Woman in New York. And I remember I had gotten a ticket to see the show, and I had no idea what the show was going to be about. This is New York at the time when tickets, I think it might have been a $20 ticket that was available that day. So I went to the show, and as I said, pre-social media, I knew the name CHITA RIVERA. And as I'm sitting there reading the bio, I'm like, oh my God, okay, okay, original West Side Story, okay, Bye Bye Birdie, oh, she's done this, and
Original
I'm
Velma
thinking,
in Chicago.
oh, totally,
Yeah.
like the Velma. So I'm reading all of this, and I'm thinking, okay, so she's got to be in her 60s at this point. I'm thinking, there's going to be this old woman that's going to come out on stage, and these people are just going to pick her up and twirl her. Honey, was I ever so wrong? I think the best expression someone used was lightning in heels is what I would call it. There is just something about specific people that just have this, I don't want to say aura, but just this amazing ability to have all eyes on them for the right reasons. We all have that relative that's an asshole that we look at for the wrong reasons. But she had this electrifying energy that I felt at that time, at 17 or 18 years old. I thought that this entire show was being done just for me. She has that connection and that magic. So I saw the show many times after that, and then I got to meet her makeup artist, Kate Best, who's a brilliant makeup artist who does J-Lo's makeup, Vanessa Williams. Also, she did Vanessa Williams when Vanessa Williams was in Spider-Woman at the time because Vanessa replaced CHITA RIVERA. But in the game of it is that I met her and I, at the time, thought I was going to be a makeup artist. So I was asking her all these questions and also had this huge admiration for Cheetah. And then she introduced me to Cheetah, which then for the next few years, I think I saw the show for the next year about 20 times and would go in Cheetah's dressing room and chat with Cheetah. And she could not have been kinder, warmer, nicer, lovely, aside from being this mega talent, was extremely humble and so generous. And so we'd remained friends throughout the years. And then when I moved back to New York at 30, I was working at Barbara Matera Costume Shop, and she was doing this 2005. She was doing a show called A Dancer's Life, and we made her costumes for that. So we reconnected then, along with her lovely assistant, Rosie, who has been with her since can't even tell you how many years. So we reconnected then. And so anytime I was in New York, I could catch her performing, whether it be on Broadway and The Visit or getting to see her at the Carlisle performing. I was there. She even performed out here, and I got to see her last year. Was the last time that I got to see her, which was out here in California. I got to catch her act on a Sunday matinee at 2 p.m. her solo show. So just truly one of the best people, and also just one of the realest people, to be that gifted and to be that wonderful. She didn't have to be so generous, and that she was, and for that, you just go, girl, you learn so much from someone like that.
I was lucky enough. I mean, I know you have this huge history with her. That's what I wanted to chat with you about. I was lucky enough to see her last summer. Our mutual friend, Daniel Nardicchio.
Oh, yeah.
He brought her out to Fire
Fire
Island.
Island.
She performed
Yep.
at the Ice Palace with her daughter.
Yes,
And
yes.
it was amazing.
Yes. No, and she was not afraid of working. I mean, she was 90 years old last year. She just turned 91 when she passed. And what's so insane is that I was talking to someone else about this, is that, on paper, you go, she's a 91-year-old woman. Of course, that she's lived a great life and how wonderful. But the other side of it, you go, there was just something about her that I thought she wasn't going anywhere. That it wasn't, she was always going to be there. So that's been the most shocking and hard part, is full of life, working up until the end, and just one of the realest, most generous people. And she didn't have to be. You know how sometimes there's a person who's done absolutely nothing in their lives and they're the biggest fucking cunt? Well, they have nothing to back it up, whereas she had all of it to back it up, and she was nothing but generous. I mean, that goes to show you that's the kind of life I want to lead.
Now, another legend who you actually, I mean, I think the person who I think you are most compared to is obviously Joan Rivers.
Oh God, how lucky to even be considered or put in the same category. Come on now.
Now, I want to talk about a couple things.
Sure.
You obviously did In Bed with Joan.
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
I've seen like all of those episodes on YouTube. Like they really range in the level of insanity in those shows. So
also the randomness of the guests, the randomness.
Yes.
The day that I filmed, there was the guy before me was Neve from Catfish on MTV.
Neve Schulman,
and then,
yes.
Okay. And then after me was Leanne Rhymes. Okay, randomly, random. That was the day. And actually, Leanne Rhymes was the last interview in bed with Joan. So I was the second to last. So Leanne was after me, and that was the last of the series.
And this was filmed in Melissa's basement?
Real House, Real House, Real House. What was crazy is I don't think I was living in Los Angeles at the time. I got the call because a guy who I adore by the name of Tony Tripoli worked for Joan and was a writer for her on Fashion Police. And he was very close with Joan. And Tony and I had done a cruise at some point many, many years in the early 2000s. So he knew of me and knew how much I loved Joan and said to me, hey, would you like to come and do this little show she's doing called In Bed with Joan? I'm going to warn you, it's, YouTube, it's this. And I'm like, sign me up. Yes, 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 let's do it. At the time, I had management who didn't think it was the best idea, which is why I don't longer have that manager. But basically, it was like, oh, well, Joan's not going to pay you. This is not going to happen. Well, I said, I don't give a fuck. I'm going and I'm doing it. So I flew out to Los Angeles and you were given instructions of where to go. And you go and we pull up and it really is Melissa's house at the time. And you really do go down to the basement and it really was all set up in the house to film in the bedroom, which is completely insane.
The most insane thing about Joan Rivers is she performed the night before
Yeah.
she went in to
Yeah, for the surgery,
to have like
yeah.
the throat surgery. She performed at the Laurie Beachman
Yeah,
Theater.
theater. She was notorious for being that. She would always go there and try out new material, which was the best. If you had the chance to see her there, it was always raw and uncensored and rotted, and I lived.
I saw her kind of bomb there.
Oh yeah, well that was where she would go to try out everything
Yeah.
new. She really would, and I thought, how genius! And someone of her level didn't need to do that, but did, and went and tried out new material. And what was so insane about the whole process? I remember I was in Australia when she passed, and somehow once again, like a CHITA RIVERA, I just thought, no, 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 no. I mean, there's something about these strong women that you just think. Of course, inevitably something would happen, but you just never think because of their work stamina and who they were as people. I didn't think of them as an age. I didn't think of them as, Joan was in her 80s and CHITA in her 90s. I didn't think of that. I just thought they are strong, unbelievable bitches who are working continuously. They ain't going nowhere. So it was so shocking that all of that happened in the way that it kind of trickled with the Jones situation. And also just a huge loss for the world. I mean, we need that voice in the world now. And the fact that everything is so PC and everything you can't say. I would just love to hear what she would have to say about the current climate we're in, from Donald Trump to sensitive fucking people.
That's the thing. I would love to know her take, because she was famous. She was famously friends with. They were iconic
Sure.
New Yorkers. I would love to know her take on Trump, the pandemic,
Oh,
and
yeah.
now obviously what's going on in the Middle East. Like I would be very curious.
No, totally. And you've got to
Yeah.
find the jokes in all of this because it is scary to think of a world with no comedy in it. It is scary to think that everything is like this, and we've become so close-minded. You have to find the humor in all of it and you have to laugh. And that's one thing Joan always did. Truly.
It's funny you mention Tony Tripoli.
Yeah.
He used to be close with Kathy Griffin. I don't know if
Yes.
he wrote for. Was he a writer for her?
You know what? I don't know the extent of their relationship. I'm not sure if they were friends and then he started writing for her, or if he wrote for her and then became friends. That was all before I knew him.
He was so was first introduced to him because he was one of her close friends on My Life on the D List.
Yes.
He was one
Yes,
of the
yes,
friends, and then of course the irony that Kathy Griffin took over for Joan on Fashion Police, and she didn't want any writers, and like Joan had 10. Like, I know some of the writers, and that was, your face is kind of saying it all.
Well, I'm just saying that if Joan Rivers had 10 writers, you need 40. You need 40, girl. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, and I think that when you're dealing with something on the level of that type of show, is that, pop culture, there's so much happening and there's so many names and there's so many people that it's like, yeah, you need to have that team of people that are on that kind of stuff. That I would never shy away from that if I was in that situation, And she wasn't afraid to deliver anything, which was what made it so spectacular. But yes, that's really important to have a group of people, especially a group of people that understand your voice, and they understood her and you, that she'd be willing to do it, deliver it, and make a great joke about it. So never think that you're above people and think, I don't need anyone. Girl. Yeah.